One greeting, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you find yourself. I'm the host of DM. I'm Jalen Davenport. DM is a digital media marketing platform where we focus on marketing and talking to international travelers about organic products and content. We're talking today about this construct right here. This one is serious. This is a serious, real life, tangible experience. Not like some of the historians that call me and message me and tell me I'm talking rubbish. I'm talking about what I've experienced. And this journey recently started because young African men and women under 50 are asking, why do black Americans think they come from Africa? That's why this series is started. So this you can consider a commercial break. So I'm on my way to the first garden party in 1983 for Shehu Shagari, the president of Nigeria. Did you know they had a British Nigeria? Did I just say that? So anyway, check out. I'm wearing the pith for the first week. I pack it, I purchased it, and the pith was cool and comfortable. So the week of, I wore it on 3 occasions. I wore it thrice, and I was disrespected all 3 days until a brother pulled my coattail and said, man, you can't wear that stuff. That represents colonialism. What do you think the soldiers did when they get off the ships for a year or two and left their wives back there? And if you can see in the pictures here, you see they got their piths on in the Middle East. They got their piths on the continent of Africa. And they even got a little fancy designing them. So this particular specific one, I get a lot of hassle from so-called historians who think they know what they're talking about. And they've only been to Ghana. They've never been anywhere else. They get their content from the books that were written by Europeans. And even people like Ivan von Sertima, he got on a plane, he flew. Not someone that just went to Ghana and talk about black. Black is a construct. So this particular one, I want my brothers, rest in peace, Don Simmons, oil company out of Oklahoma. Their family was buying oil in the late 50s. You hear me? From Nigeria. They called us Negroes then, because remember, they were colonized, and then the rest of them were shipped. My brother, Ivan Lapsley, we were at the garden party. I got to tell you the stories of how the senators and these Congress people from Ohio was there, and they're wondering, what y'all doing here? That was on the expression on their face. But we didn't ride in the government caravan. Joe McBride, Ivan Lapsley, I learned so much from these brothers. And Charles Day, Charles M.F. and Day. Wow, you guys are amazing. Look, you guys, you even see the wife of the president of the United States. She's wearing a pith. Wherever she goes, she got on that pith. So thanks to my sponsors, Tony Boy Media. Have a look at the website. There's a lot of amazing products on there that you can buy through us on PayPal. We have some amazing stories about this book I wrote called Malcolm, Martin, Jesus, and My Father, The Conversations We Never Had. Thanks for tuning in, and check out The Construct and follow our series. This is like a commercial break. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And tell Dr. Umar, don't get mad at me. I've been there, done that. I can taste it. I can smell it. I lived it 35 plus years and still living it. Peace and love. Take it easy. Talk to you soon. That's a construct.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Hat Historian. In this video, I will be talking about a hat that has come to be a symbol of exploration, colonialism, and tropical climates. The pith helmet. Also known sometimes as a sola topi, a salakot, or even a Bombay bowler, the pith helmet is a rigid sun hat originally made from, you'll be shocked to learn, pith, which is the spongy membrane inside fibrous plants, notably from the sola plant, and covered with cloth. Later on, rather than pith, it was often made from cork, a staple for intrepid gentlemen explorers, intellectual Egyptologists, 19th century soldiers in tropical climates, who are, yes, more often than not colonial conquerors, the pith helmet has been, for Europeans, a marker of overseas adventures and exoticism, and to non-Europeans, usually a sign of pasty white people who didn't handle the sun while telling them what to do. The hat itself, however, is very good at what it does, protect the wearer from the sun, and has been used in many different contexts. The pith helmet has its origins in the Philippines, where the locals wore a dome-shaped hat known as the salakot. Made from various plants, it was stiff and often topped with a small metal or wooden finial, and was used for protection against the sun. Often rather simple, sometimes it was elaborately ornamented as a status symbol. In the early 18th century, Spanish colonial forces and their native auxiliaries adopted a plain version of the salakot for their soldiers, as a protection against the elements in this tropical country. In the 19th century, usage of these rigid vegetable sun hats spread to other colonial powers in Southeast Asia, notably the French in Indochina, though they still resembled more the traditional Asian conical hats than the modern colonial helmet that we are familiar with. The pith helmet can really be said to have evolved in British India around the mid-19th century. British troops that had taken over the country originally wore the tall felt and leather shakos that was part of the standard European uniform. Heavy, hot, and cumbersome, they were completely impractical for the tropical Indian weather, even with the addition of a white cover. The British authorities therefore began searching for a practical replacement. Salakots, which had been imported for use by workers, had proven popular, and various designs were experimented with in order to make it somewhat less Asian and suitable for the colonial troops, while still remaining practical. They eventually came up with what would be known as the Foreign Service helmet. Originally a fairly odd-looking thing, with a large comb at the top containing a ventilation tube, it eventually settled into a tall, domed shape with a sloping back to cover the neck, and a small ventilation hole at the summit, protected by a button, like the one I'm wearing right now. Though some military dress models were also decorated with crests on the front and spikes on the top. The origin of the shape, radically different from its predecessors, is uncertain, but likely inspired by British cavalry helmets of the time. One can easily see the resemblance here. This pattern of cork helmet was also adopted back in Britain itself, covered in blue felt as the Home Service helmet. A type of this helmet survives to this day, the custodian helmet, seen on the heads of British policemen, and has become something of a symbol of the country. It should be noted that, well, stiff, though it might offer a tiny bit of protection from shocks, that was not its purpose, despite it being referred to as a helmet. The pith or cork construction was found to be very poor at conducting heat, rendering it good for protection against the sun, and the stiff construction over a liner allowed air to circulate between the head and the hat, keeping the wearer cool. It was usually surrounded by a folded piece of cloth called a puggaree, which is represented here in a decorative manner, but originally could be detached, soaked in water, and then put back, and the evaporation of the water would keep the head cool. As the pith helmet's success became evident, other nations soon adopted it, often in a pattern resembling the British one, such as the French, the Germans, the Dutch, or the Spanish. With these countries' colonial ambitions expanding into Africa in the latter 19th century, the pith helmet spread to that continent as well, and became somewhat representative of colonial conquest. However, it also had spread to civilian use. At the time, it was believed that Europeans were particularly susceptible to sunstroke, as opposed to the natives, which were thought to have developed an immunity towards it. With that in mind, European administrators